机版风音直播，被窝里的幸福。
这样的一个。在的。
手机版风音直播，被窝里的幸福。
在上周，我们为大家精选了5支队，下面为您揭晓最精彩的演技。号称战术王的阿斯内选手罗，一直是以战术多变著称，也有人称他为魔导。在上周的比赛中，他为我们上演了这么一出自导自演的好戏。最郁闷的突袭。在逆风劣势的时候，如果能够抢到对面的肉身，那绝对是神来之笔。只可惜我们猜对了开头，却没有猜到结果。最倒霉的回撤，一般来说，有那个技能英雄总是能够在战场上来去自如，在先手之后，往往能够全身而退，回到队友身边。不过这次好像还带了一点别的动作一起回来。 本次 GSL 比赛中的确让人失望，他们自己也承受着巨大的压力。希望他们能够重新调整好自己，再次让我们看到那个熟悉的战队。最深情的凝望，没有爱怎么能做得好 GSL 呢？来看我们的工作人员与摄像机的互动吧，一定能感动到你。好了，以上就是本期 GSL 指南的全部内容。接下来还请继续欣赏选手们的精彩表演，下期再见。
好的，各位观众，欢迎来到解说席。刚才是看了一段很有意思的这个花絮啊，特别是最后那个深情的凝望，我们的摄像应该是在房间里自己都要乐了。好了，欢迎收看今天晚上的这个 DSL。今天呢，因为 Miss 昨天直播的时候已经是咳嗽的比较厉害，所以今天又是请假了。然后今天是我和单车2个人啊。
我在想他是不是有意避开我
啊？那没有，昨天我正。
It's 5 a.m. on the west coast of the United States, and that means it's time for another day of Dota 2 Super League action. This one's going to be between two of our undefeated teams, Rising Stars versus DK. A best of 3 about to get underway.
Yeah. We're here in Group B. We've had the Group A summed up, where Tong Fu surprisingly took first place. But Group B, things are just sort of getting started a bit here. We've seen DK as well as Rising Stars, both teams playing today. They're currently undefeated. Undefeated is just one win, though.
Yeah, it's 1-0 for both teams, but winner of this will suddenly be 2-0. They'll also knock that other team down a little bit, a peg or two, and it doesn't guarantee them first place by any means, but it gives them the inside track and a more comfortable path from there on out.
Yeah, absolutely. Big thanks everyone for tuning in at 5 a.m. for those of you on the West Coast, of course.
Probably not
Me and
many
LD.
of them, but we appreciate every single one of you
Yeah.
a little bit more. It is very late here.
Yeah, but here we can see DK being introduced on the Chinese stream. They're going to be up against Rising Stars. DK, a team who have been running a lot of this sort of tri-core. It's no longer 4 Protect 1. They're running a lot of 3 carry lineups. Sometimes there's solo mid for supers, not really a sort of carry or semi-carry. Maybe it's something like the Kunkka, but
Right.
all in all, they're a team who are no longer just basing everything around burning, getting 5 or 6 slotted.
I mean, at the same time, there's always that potential for them to come out and run the 4 Protect 1 as
Yeah.
a pocket strategy, as a closer. I feel like that's where we're most likely to see it. If DK, they just really need a win, and they feel like that sort of strategy isn't working against Rising Stars, maybe they ban out heroes like the Wisp that can disrupt their tempo, that discourage the split push, get Bernie the anti-mage, even the Gyrocopter in a 4 Protect 1, and just take it late game.
Yeah, absolutely. As for Rising Stars, they're an unpredictable bunch, I would say. Not quite like on the Rattlesnake level of unpredictable, but they generally go for they're one of the few teams who do still go for a hard carry every now and then for Zaltuji. They'll pick up something like an Alchemist, an Antimates. They're also a team who will pull out the Wisp, a hero likely to be seen banned here, but they'll mix things up a bit.
Absolutely, and I mean, it's also, we haven't mentioned yet, but this is 6.78 God, so
Yeah.
we're looking at a totally new version, a lot of changes to heroes that we've seen a lot of. Obviously, Lone Druid got some big nerfs with Armlet no longer really working properly. Well, it's working properly now, how Ice Frog intended it, but no longer as strong as it used to be. And even heroes like Lifestealer, smaller nerfs perhaps, but could be significant. Open Wounds, I think it's 200 range or 250 range at level 1 for initiation. So some of our classic, iconic 6.77 heroes, maybe they slip off. Maybe this is where DK Rising Stars especially start to experiment.
I feel like some of DK's picks actually maybe favor the way that some of the version changed. I don't think they were overly reliant on a lot of these heroes who have been nerfed quite heavily. I think that sort of applies to maybe some of the other teams. I think DK will do just fine here. If anything, they'll get helped out by some of the heroes that actually have been buffed up. So we'll see some of the 6.78 changes. We don't know a whole lot about them. We've been too busy taking holidays in the Caribbean.
It's a lot to process, I think,
Yeah.
for the players, the casters, everybody. It was a big balance change to not just a few heroes, but pretty much everyone. Then you see heroes like Bloodseeker, who I don't know that we'll see him picked, but got just a ridiculous buttload of nerfs. I mean, anything really is possible. And you look at Rising Stars, a team that maybe is a bit outclassed by DK in terms of individual skill, in terms of teamwork. Maybe this is where they pull one of those new heroes out. We've seen a lot of Bristleback play as of late. We've seen Trient in the West, I mean, which we saw in 6.77, but we've seen teams experimenting, and who knows, maybe we'll see it here today as well.
Yeah, this is kind of, well, it's sort of a place to experiment, but at the same time, you've got to be careful because they want to be going into the playoffs. This is $165,000, $1 million RMB, so it's a lot of money up for grabs here. You don't want to be going too risky. It's a best of 3 though, so if one team gets up a 1-game advantage, especially DK, who probably feel confident that they're the favorites going in, quite likely come game 2 they say, okay, let's try out this new pick, let's see how it works in an actual competitive environment.
With that being said, guys, game 1 now underway. We're going to hop ourselves into the draft and see exactly what these teams are doing. DK versus Rising Stars. Well, as soon as I give Jarrett the screen, here we go.
There we go.
Into the draft we'll jump in just a few seconds, and well, gods, the bans pretty standard. What we were seeing in 6.77, so really no changes here yet.
Yeah, no major changes here, as we do see Darkseer early pick from DK. They actually grabbed the Alchemist himself. This is a hero that both these two teams have been using, normally in that one position, although never really a hard carry with DK. They can run a multitude of sort of ways to combine it. Dragon Knight with the Visage. Dragon Knight's a hero who I think is just really going to be seeing a lot of play over the next couple of weeks. He's so strong. He's sort of that solo mid. I guess the Bottle Crow nerf is actually going to hurt him as much as it hurts a hero like Mag, because you are reliant on that against a Queen of Pain or a Puck mid, but I think he's a hero who's really strong in the current metagame.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it's where it slightly favors a hero like Darkseer, who's a little bit better at pushing out the waves, has the more spammable spell if he does go mid. Now for DK, they've picked up the Alchemist, but we've seen this team, I believe Supers run it mid before.
Yeah.
A lot of the Chinese teams, they go for that utility Alchemist. They'll go send a mid, build the early mech, get a medallion in some cases, and won't be your one position carry. We've also seen DK run this as a hard carry in the safe lane. I think we saw that most notably back during the G1 League qualifiers where Burning, it looked like DK were on the ropes in that one game, and then just they came back, he farmed his way to victory, had the Basher, the Abyssal Blade, the Assault Cuirass, and just was out carrying a Lone Druid and a Lifestealer, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, I think with the Darkseer here, it sort of more almost leans towards having that one position Alchemist, just because Darkseer is your natural mech buyer. He fits a similar role to a solo mid Alchemist as that utility, just tanky teamfight based hero who can get the mech, the pipe, all these other good items. But you could easily run Darkseer offlane Alchemist mid. As for Rising Stars, they've got the Visage support, and this hero has really risen to fame late. We've seen it had some great success in the TI3 Eastern qualifiers, and even here in the Dota 2 Super League.
As far as I can recall, I don't think there were any major changes to him in the most recent patch, so Visage is as strong as he was, hasn't really been significantly affected, and we'll see if other heroes rising in strength and other heroes dropping affects his overall success. But we now look at the bans gods, and heading into the second stage, Rising Stars showing some respect towards QQQ's jungle play. They're going to ban out the Enchantress, the Chen, and it is the new draft format as well, so you only get 2 bans for the second stage, then you move into another set of 2 picks for each team.
Yeah, that was confusing the hell out of me for a second.
Yeah,
like,
I was wondering the same thing.
I'm like, wait a second, they're banning heroes and having third pick. I'm like, okay, that's right.
Calm down, gods. It's okay.
I'm not drunk. So yeah, one pick back and forth for the two teams now. Rising Stars pick 1, DK pick 1, and then Rising Stars pick another. This is sort of, I guess, balance out that first pick advantage. Although looking at the win percentages, it was, I think, like 50.45% win rate for first pick. It was something very, very marginally better as far as stats go, but most teams would always choose to have that first pick. Most teams agree that it was the stronger position to be in.
I mean, it's also just the psychological comfort as much as anything, where maybe you just prefer to be able to control the flow of the draft and having first pick. That's certainly a way to do it. Rising Stars, what are they going to go for now? They've started with a Visage, a Dragon Knight. This gives them the obvious solo mid and the DK, a very strong component of an offensive Triline and a Visage, if they want to run it. Now, the one issue is if you run an aggressive Triline with Visage, you open up Darkseer to probably get a 1v1 in the off lane. And we've seen in the past when you do that, gets an early mech, gets the early utility items, can't be shut down, and then poses a real problem in the head-on engagements later on.
Yeah, the Lone Druid probably the one hero left in the pool who you could send safe lane in that 1v1 matchup. But they're going to grab a Keeper of the Light, so definitely the makings of an offensive Triline. Visage, Keeper of the Light, all they need is that sort of setup stun, the Initiator, which is going to be something like your Sven, perhaps.
DK, and well, they'll go for a hero that they've actually run quite a bit of in the Trilines. We've actually seen teams will ban Undying against DK if they want to go aggressive Triline. And if they don't, if DK isn't looking like they want to Triline, then they may ignore this hero entirely, but it has been a strategic occasional ban against DK. Well, it'll be slipping through this time. Yeah,
Undying Gyrocopter Triline is going to be something very scary for Rising Stars to go offensive Triline against, even if they get a strong hero to round off their Triline, which to me, the only one really left is something like a Sven. But I feel like going up against Undying Gyrocopter is going to be too risky. So maybe they decide, okay, let's pick up a PL. Cuddle PL, let's go.
Well, we'll see. They have the Dragon Knight. They have a hero who's pretty durable solo mid. Doesn't need a whole lot of assistance. With the Bottle Crow changes, I would say maybe a bit more. But he'll be up against an Alchemist, it looks like. And Alchemist DK, pretty even matchup overall.
Yeah, I think it is pretty even matchup. And as far as his last pick goes, DK need another support. Maybe even look towards the newly buffed Crystal Maiden.
Oh, yeah. We're actually having a lot of Theorycraft discussion at our, well, I would say almost dinner yesterday. It's been such a long night already. But about how she can actually jungle a bit more efficiently now just because she's got the additional mana from coming out from her passive. So you can use Frostbite on creep, still have mana when you're going to gank later on.
And DK was like the only team who had faith in Crystal Maiden. This was pre-buffs. They were running that CM Undying. If there's any time to continue
30% win rate, be damned. They were still running it, and they were making it work.
They were making it work. Sven does get picked up by Rising Stars. Not surprised at all. This is the only hero left for them to pick up if they want this offensive Triline, which it looks like it is what they want to do.
10 seconds remaining.
Well, we'll see where they go from here. They've got a lot of armor, decent AoE. We've seen teams take Sven, Dragon Knight +1 late as a strong Tricore and make it work. Now, for DK, like you mentioned, need another support. Rubik is still in the pool. Is this a game where you want to go for someone like that?
For DK?
Yeah.
It's an okay support. I think you want something which is a bit more early game fight centric because of the Sven.
A little more firepower.
Yeah, which is where Crystal Maiden is actually nice. All you need is that fast level 2, and then you have Frostbite and Frost Nova. Frost Nova great in Trilane versus Trilane. Does make a nice little addition here. Last ban onto the puck, so it looks like DK are just banning out some of those solos. They should be looking at, I would have preferred something like a Lone Druid ban just because they have a DK, most likely solo mid. They need a safe lane solo. To me, that's probably not going to be something like a puck.
And there have been some changes to Lone Druid as well. I mentioned the armlet changes, but the other big change is if his bear dies, the enemy team gets, or the killing blow accrues 300 gold, basically. So the bear's worth 300 gold. If it does die, that can really hurt the Lone Druid. If you give that away to, say, a Darkseer, which looks like it might be the likely matchup here,
yeah,
it could go a long way. At the same time, though, Lone Druid versus Darkseer 1v1, I feel your bear isn't that likely to die. It's more sort of affecting the off-lane play, where 2 or 3 heroes can gank the bear early and then get a lot of gold for their side.
Yeah, I feel Lone Druid's still very strong, and that's something which a lot of people are forgetting. There's your Crystal Maiden. DK, they've got faith. They believe in the CM.
Gods was you guys couldn't see off camera. Gods was picking up the red phone to China, letting DK know that they better pick CM or Lumi's going to be unhappy. So, Rising Stars, what do they go for here? Lone Druid seems like sort of your obvious choice.
Yeah.
Is there anyone else who matches up well against Darkseer? Because that seems like what we're looking at here.
Clockwork can do okay. This is also assuming they want to go offensive Triumph, which with Sven, Keeper Light, Visage, I'd be very shocked if they don't.
Because if you want to trade farm, I mean, Sven, you don't really want to trade farm with heroes like Alchemist and Gyro.
So I guess you could go DK safe lane against Darkseer, but again, not a great matchup. So Anti-Mage is a hero who can do okay in that 1v1 matchup, but then you have Anti-Mage, DK, Sven as your 3 cores, or melee, a bit kind of clunky. It can go okay, just not really ideal. They're going to go Doom, though.
Well, a little bit more of a Rattlesnake flavor, something that they have liked to run a lot, and I guess the one thing is he's not really that strong of a 1v1 solo. You can look to occasionally eat the Iron Shard creep, but it's got a long cooldown. Not a full solution, so are they going defensive trialing here?
I don't think so. This matchup, I think, like you say, Rattlesnake actually had a Doom solo against Darkseer one time in the Eastern qualifiers, I want to say.
If you get lucky, it can go well.
Yeah, he got the Satyr creep at level 1, which is a lot of HP regen, and even with that, he broke even on farm. And that was with, I know AUI was here saying he didn't think the Darkseer played it as well as he could. He didn't creep skip, he didn't pull the creep wave to the neutral camp, so I think it's a matchup which Darkseer does win, but Doom can at least hold his own, get XP, get farm. He's not going to be free farming and winning the lane, but it's like just let's break even. You're up against a Darkseer, you're not expected to win the lane.
They've picked 3 melee cores. Dragon Knight occasionally can be in ranged form, but generally is a melee hero in the early to mid game. Up against Darkseer, up against Gyrocopter, that's a lot of AoE, that's a lot of lockdown. Well, it's a bold move. If they have a slow start in this laning stage, it does feel like DK has the firepower to just run them over. But guys, it's been a long draft. Now let's jump into the game. DK versus Rising Stars. This one a best of 3. Both teams 1-0 in Group B for the Dota 2 Super League. $165,000 approximately in prize money to be handed out over the course of this season. The biggest tournament outside of the International 3. On the dire side, we have Team DK, a legendary old school squad of veterans. Burning going to be playing that Gyrocopter. Die, or MMY, as he's now known, on the support on Dyna hero. He's quite known for playing QQQ, handling the Crystal Maiden. We'll have Super taking the reins for that solo mid Alchemist. And last but not least, looks like it will be ROTK handling the Darkseer.
Well, for the Radiant team, it's Team Rising Stars, who's already caused one upset here in the Dota 2 Super. We've got Xiao Tuji playing the solo bottom Doombringer. He's been pulled some regen to help him out. Mid lane, we've got Air playing the Dragon Knight. Then we have our offensive trial made up of XDD playing the Sven, Mofi playing the Visage, and then we have Super's evil counterpart. It's Super as well, playing the Keeper of the Light.
This is the other Super, guys. This is the...
It's the lowercase
the
Super.
challenger.
He's got the lowercase s. DK has the uppercase s.
He's the challenger.
With an exclamation mark, so
absolutely.
He's already got him beat psychologically.
Well, we'll see about that. He's the young whippersnapper, and then, of course, capitals S Super is the veteran. The wily veteran. Let's see what he can do, and let's see who's going to prevail. Will it be your Usurper? Will it be your old school veteran? We'll have a Dragon Knight solo mid versus Alchemist. That's a pretty even matchup for the most part. I think we've seen Alch tends to have a slight edge, at least historically, but it's just looking at the hero matchup pretty even. It's going to be an aggressive trialing from DK against a solo Doom, who has not found a creep at level 1. There's a lot of wards around the lane as well as his jungle. He's going to be starting this lane with Devour, but with no creep, and that could be an absolute disaster for him.
Yeah, I'm actually a bit surprised DK went offensive trialing, deciding to avoid the... To me, this is them dodging the trial and burst trialing, probably because... Not because they deciding our trialing's going to lose, let's dodge it, but probably because they think they can win this lane against Doom. They're going to get some early harass off here, and they're probably just saying, okay, Darkseer at top, he'll do okay-ish, whereas Doom is going to have nothing at bottom. He's going to be forced to maybe jungle, which I guess for Doom doesn't really matter too much.
Well, if he gets caught, it could matter a lot. He's trying to find a creep, and they're just not going to let him have it. So, I mean, guys, it looks like to me they're just saying you won't get access to that Satyr early on. You won't even get a Centaur. We're going to zone you out as hard as possible. They are devoting 3 heroes to do it, though.
He should just wrap around, get this big camp on the far left.
Top lane, RTK could be in trouble. This could be our first blood. It will be. Looks like